quiet.
Maria, fix your stuff.
Yeah, because you get a little over.
Nobody looks stupid.
You're on live.
Figures.
Oh,
Well, here's the thing. Thanks everybody for coming. We've got a room full of readers. We are spaced around so there's not feedback, but we can all hear and see one another. So thanks for joining us for our first Elite After Hours. We had a full day of readings. We're all a little loopy, but feel free to ask questions that you would like us to answer. This is not for free readings. This is more of what have you always wanted to ask, like Greg, about readings? How did he get started? Why is it okay for him to be a reader while being a Catholic? Ask Maria, about chronic healing or the type of mediumship that we're dragging her out of the reader closet for. So you can type in questions over in the chat and we'll go ahead and answer them. Be forewarned, we can not only answer you verbally, but we can also answer you in text. So we have Joan with us tonight. We have Greg. Wave Greg. We've got JD, we've got Maria, and we have Lucinda. We kind of have Mike Berta in chat with us.
how do we respond?
He says nothing good is going to come in a room full of readers. You're probably right.
Yeah,
I often say that my readers are like my children and trying to wrangle them to behave themselves when they're not busy is a hard thing to do sometimes. But we are opening game for any topic you might want to ask, like who believes in astrology, who doesn't? Joan is an astrology fan. She and I debate that all the time. How does astrology play into psychic readings or mediumship? So we have, feel free to ask questions. I've got a room full of readers, a lot of knowledge sitting here ready to answer for you. Yeah, Lisa agrees with Dr. Mystical that can't be good having so many of them corralled in one room.
This is an experiment.
Kind of allowed to answer at their own free will. Uh-oh, we lost Lucinda. Where'd she go? We'll bring her back in. The internet's a little loopy with all of us using the internet. But Joan brought up a kind of interesting topic earlier today. I don't know if she mentioned it to you guys about how maybe some of our people in today's age who are labeled as maybe mentally disabled, like how much of that is repressed and improperly diagnosed mediumship ability or psychic ability when they're saying, I'm hearing voices, and the doctor says, you're weird, take this pill. So, I mean, if any of you have a thought on that, would like to comment on that. Hi, Marlene.
There's Marlene. Am I able to type my comment?
You can type. You can type, and you can unmute yourself and talk if you'd like. I can always over on the comment section on the right hand side of your screen.
No, I skip it. Where do I?
Maria, what are your thoughts on the whole bipolar, ADD, ADHD really being some sort of psychic gifts? I'm looking up this way because I can see her across the room.
Well, I think that some of them do have the gift, and it's been misdiagnosed. But some of them there is a chemical imbalance that's going on that's not wired right on the brain. So
it could be both. It could be a little both.
Yeah.
But could that chemical imbalance be caused by attachments?
Oh, Joan, we have a hard time here.
It could be. It could be attachments, but it's also is the way of thinking, the pattern of thinking, because when you have your intention and you're thinking that you're this type of character and you believe it, then therefore you're creating the imbalance in your brain, in your whole bio.
She's back.
Yeah. Yay! Lucinda's back.
Man, technology.
Greedy bunch of readers. Yeah, so anybody watching, feel free to ask questions, type them out. We'll answer them. JD does spirit arts. If you have questions on how spirit art works in with psychic ability, you can ask that. Greg, psychic mediums, seashells, dominoes, palms, except mine. He never gives me a palm reading.
Yeah.
He's such a slacker. Maria, pranic healer, shamanic healing, Reiki heal, all things healing. That's Maria. Joan, we got what? Tarot, Lenormand, big into astrology, intuitive medium. So if you have questions on how any of that works, or if you have, questions about any buzz topics, for a little while, but shadow work was always the buzz thing that everybody was talking about. If you want to know what our opinion on,
Reiki?
go ahead and ask.
Yeah.
Hey, Christina. Feel free to pick our brains. That's why we're here.
What's left of our brains?
Cluster of knowledge on your screen.
Hey, card readers, I got a question. So we're after multiple readings, were you pulling the same cards today?
Oh, we lost Greg.
Yeah. Try again.
Haha, I kicked him off.
Don't want a top spot.
Reader deathmatch starts now.
Yeah, really.
Joan's winning. Greg's down. We got to get Greg back in the studio.
Don't make me come in
There I
there.
am.
I don't see you yet, Greg.
So Jan wants to know, where can you get training on shamanic healing? Maria, where did you get your training? How did you decide to pick the training that you did?
First of all, I got my training from Zane Kerfman. He was trained by the Dons in Peru, and I basically wanted to understand what my great grandfather did, because he was a medicine man, and of course he's passed on. So I wanted to understand exactly what he did. So evidently, when I went through the training with Zane, I loved it, and I went on to take the mastery class. So that's how I started. And it was a calling that I thought I just to understand my grandfather, but I realized that I also loved it too.
Yeah, and we offer that class. It's kind of in two steps. 1 year is like your basic apprenticeship, and it's one full weekend a month for 8 months. It's pretty intense. And a lot of times there's follow-up online in between. And then the mastery is another like 4 to 6 months of training, which I've sat through 2 or 3 times myself, and I'm still always learning something. So if you want to keep an eye, like on our website, on our Facebook, we'll put them up. We're actually halfway through an apprenticeship right now. But because of COVID teaching us how to do a lot of it online, I think we're actually going to bring it back pretty soon. So Dr. Mystical, and this might be more of a Joan and Greg, he's got a Lenormand deck, and he's wanting some tips on, ways of using Lenormand and, how to make them work.
Joan, why don't you go first? So I'm back on.
Yeah, seeing as Greg's bounced, he thinks he's more important than anybody else.
Greg's
so
like,
he's
"I'm
gonna
outta
leave
here."
the show. He's like, deuces. Anyways,
Some
so
talking going on here.
oh, I'm gonna come in there. Dr.
Speaking of
Mystical,
tarot,
Mike, nice to
tarot, I
see
feel
you.
shuffled.
Sort of. Lenormand. So the easiest way to read Lenormand, the way I look at it, is read the picture. With tarot, it's read the picture. There's a backstory, obviously, with tarot, and the author, how he's created the deck and the pictures that go along with it. But for Lenormand, they're pretty standard pictures for that small deck. And Greg, you could probably agree. If I see a letter pop up, that letter means you've got a message coming. There's a message, there's a messenger, there's writing on the wall, or something that needs to be sent or said to someone else. The heart, the dog meaning loyalty, things like that. So what do you think, Greg?
Hi. Now, with the Lenormand, I choose to use them intuitively as well. I feel that I tend to use my own script, but they're very good. I treat them as another oracle. Rarely do I use them as directed, so to speak. I prefer just to use my own spread, and I find myself using Lenormand as a good validation when I am using another deck. Mhm. I have a lot of faith in Lenormand, and yeah, I do resonate pretty well with them.
All right, well, Christina had a question for you, Greg. I have never heard of using seashells in readings. Was that something your family used, and how did you start using them?
I got picked off.
You got to keep up again. All right.
Yeah.
The dominoes, Maria, is your mic up?
Yes.
Okay. The dominoes have been used in my family for a long time. I was trained on using the dominoes, Christina, when I was a child. The seashells are something I picked up just because seashells resonate with your emotions, and coming from the water, they tend to be a very good indicator of the emotions. But the dominoes were invented thousands of years ago, first for fortune telling, then a game. But it is something I was I was trained, brought up using, and learning how to do that as part of my upbringing.
Oh, Myra, who was here and had a few of you, and I think, you, Maria, she says she was here this afternoon as part of the fair and loved it. It was fabulous. Extremely relaxed. Yay. I'd pat you on the head, but your square moved on my screen. This is like the moving Brady Bunch box here. Wi-Fi is not liking all of us trying to use it at once, apparently. I think I'm only hanging in there because I'm using the hotspot on my phone, and you as well. So sorry, guys, why we keep popping in and out.
Megan just.
Oh, there's Meg.
Megan.
Hey. Hi, Meg.
I made it.
You made it.
Get another reader. You can pick our brains, ask questions. Megan's also a tarot reader, dream interpreter. So if you have a question for Megan, she also teaches our Wicca classes. So feel free to ask her about anything of that. Make sure I'm not missing questions over on the personal side too. Lisa, at what age do you discover your gifts? Did you have to learn or fine tune them? Did they just come to you? So if anybody wants to kind of answer on that, like when did you realize your gifts? When did you know you had it?
I think realize is the key word. Because a lot of us, I'm sure we could say we experienced things for as long as we can remember. And it was just a matter of acknowledging and identifying, saying, oh, that's what that is. Anyone?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay. For me, it was when I was 4 years old. I started seeing things, and at that point is when a lot of the mentoring began. But I can still remember when I was 4 years old having my first encounter, vision, or whatever, and it started for me at that age.
I think ever since I can remember, but then a statement was made earlier about like certain faiths, you sort of, it gets suppressed or you're supposed to hide it.
Not acknowledge it. So that was sort of what was going on in the beginning with me. Even like when I'd be there at school and I was at a Catholic school and things would be coming to me or I'd be realizing things, and then I would go and ask a question that was sort of against what I was being told right there in catechism class. Get back in. Oh, who am I?
I'm here. I'm getting a lot of echo on the live.
Melissa, you have to add me again.
Yeah, kick us off again.
For me, it was. Is anybody else speaking? It's my turn. Okay.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
All yours.
Okay. No, for me, I noticed that I was able to raise energy when I was about 6 or 7 years old, just from having a deep connection with nature. And it was that raising of energy that just woke up all kinds of other things inside of me. When I was younger, I could I could see certain things that were kind of hard to share with others. It was difficult sometimes. Um, being awake and aware. Um,
Yeah.
it was hard, so I can relate to that thing of acceptance. You know, because you got singled out as being kind of weird, and then you wonder that everybody else is questioning whether you can see or you can read or you can do these things with people. Um, then you begin to question whether or not you actually have that gift. So I think for a lot of people who would read, you end up suppressing it at a very young age because it's not accepted, and you kind of learn it's not accepted. Um, so later on, when you finally learn to accept that part of yourself because you have to, eventually, things come out.
One thing else for me too, guys, is I was brought up thinking it was, or being reminded it is a gift and to treat it as such.
No, yours might be a little different.
Yeah, yours is different.
Like you probably really weren't allowed to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh wait, let me unmute.
Yeah.
Let me unmute, you guys.
You guys can see my mouth moving. Nothing's
So I
coming
was
up.
asking Lucinda
So I was
maybe
asking
elaborate.
Lucinda to maybe elaborate. She grew up pretty hardcore Catholic, and coming to terms to be okay. Like, what brought that about?
well, yeah, because it was, again, being raised in a very Catholic household. Some, especially the older generation, it was totally, I wouldn't say that they didn't acknowledge it. They knew that there was these things that people could do, but it was against everything that was right, that was allowed, that you would keep, if you practiced it or believed it, you were going to be damned and all that kind of stuff. But then
Yeah.
when they started, I don't know if you'd go and say it was like because some of my gifts were showing, and I would go and just all of a sudden blurt out something, and then it was like, well, how did she know that? Or boom, they check into it, and I was, dead right, and and yet I'm like, one instance, thousands of miles away, yet I knew what was going on, or could tell them. They go, okay, and then they had to start thinking about it. Okay, here's this very good and proper Catholic person, because I was going to church, I was Eucharistic minister, I was all these kind of things, so I was not being a bad Christian, but yet I was being able to do these things. And then when I would start telling them, well, it's because God wants me to, or it's, and like what Greg went and said, it was a gift, they started realizing that, yeah, I'm not a bad person, and because I'm able to do these things, and that didn't make me a bad person, and that I was not going to be damned because I was being using and being gifted with these abilities.
Right. And one thing with my family too, very, very strict Italian Catholic, very similar to what Lucinda has said, but at the same time, I was taught to respect it and that there's nothing wrong with it. It is a God-given gift. I've had 12 years of Catholic education and I'm still practicing. So is everyone in my family, prior to their death. But I was brought up that there's nothing wrong with it as long as you respect it and remember how the gift came to you.
And if you look at it too, because I'm still very, I still consider myself Catholic and everything. But, and some people will say, how can you do both of it? And then I remind them that it's a gift. And then like one of my very best friends is Father Charlie, who is now the head priest of the church that I grew up in and am a member of. And he'll go and say, well, really, if these people, to include other Christians, would realize it, we're not doing anything that isn't, one, God-given, God-blessed, and that by some of the terminology that we use today, like we're called, mediums, psychics, or whatever, that in their own holy book, that in those days they were prophets, they were seers, they were wise men. So they were doing exactly what we are with our gifts today, but we're called something different, still doing the same job that was being done in biblical times, that even biblical people, and then he went on to say that we, the Christians and that, they call on a big prayer. That's another way of calling intent. You put out the intent, another way of saying prayer. And all that you go and in the Bible again, that, they would talk to a burning bush. They would be, talk to a cloud. They were visited by angels. Those things are happening now, whether you be Baptist, Christian, Catholic, Methodist, whatever. So there's a connection in all religions. So it's not to where you're going to be damned because you were gifted and you're making use of your gift.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so there's another question from Dr. Mystical. He was on today with Tarot Oracle, and they were discussing and chatting about what's next for tarot. So my tarot readers, where do you think card reading is going to go over the next few years, especially given, some of the changes in how we're doing readings now with COVID, and I'm sure distance reading, and, some readers like to have people shuffle the cards. Are you finding any changes, and what do you think will keep changing?
Are we going to change the rules?
I haven't answered that question, but
Hey,
I refuse to
listen,
say it.
no, you're not allowed to talk. Are we changing the rules like the Major League Baseball is? Let's go to the extra innings, so we're going to put somebody on second base. Anyways, do we lay out the cards a different way? Everybody has different rules for laying out their cards, so we're all making our own layouts. You can use traditionals, right? Traditional layouts, Megan. You're a traditionalist.
Different. Speaks to
Yeah,
everybody.
she's saying everybody's different. Yeah. I can barely hear Megan.
Yeah, I think that the nature of any readings is
Yeah, I think Megan might need to turn up her volume.
Through symbolism that matches these archetypes of human expression and experience. We read what's going on in the other person's life through these images that we cast when we pull the cards. And that's why cards are so adaptable to so many different kinds of people. They will adapt to different people. They don't always mean the same thing. And that's why it can be so confusing for somebody who's learning tarot to learn it, because the images change. And once you realize that and you go through intuition, understand that you're interpreting somebody else's experience, human experience, that's the most important thing. The symbology.
But Megan,
yeah.
I just wanted to ask you: have you done any online readings, like we're in this chat room right now, for people?
Yes, I've done some online readings.
Do you get the same feelings? Do you get the same feelings you do when you're in person?
Huh?
Do you get the same feeling that you do in person?
Yeah, I got the same exact feeling in person. There's some things that are a little bit more difficult to do, like I also read auras, and it's a little bit harder, obviously, to read somebody's aura when it's coming over. It's much better to have them there. The distance makes it difficult. But I don't find that reading either via telephone or internet poses any unique challenge for me personally. I don't feel like a loss in connection with that person.
I don't think tarot's going to change. Hey, sorry, Greg. I don't think tarot's going to change because it's been around for so long. What's changing is our perspective to tarot.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I do a lot of online readings via, the phone or Facebook Messenger, and I find myself just focusing, but again, you don't have the distractions. And is it different? Yes. But is it just as successful? Absolutely.
Yeah.
For me, it is anyway.
Yeah.
I see JD nodding his head, so yeah.
I do many drawings, and I originally started doing most of my drawings remotely. And like you said, without the distractions, to me, that makes it actually easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you guys hearing the echo out there, or is it more just on this end?
It changes. Sometimes it's there, and sometimes it isn't. I think it depends
Have
on where
people
the
been saying they're
satellite's.
hearing it on their end? Okay.
Oh, they're hearing us?
But to answer Christina's question, thank you for asking. As far as how I developed my skill, it was really a journey. I was always an artist of sorts. Well, I was always an artist. I'd kind of gotten away from it, and my life, um, it's kind of like those life journeys, and I was kind of in a state where I was seeking out spiritual stuff. And I was always in like astrology, but never really dabbled in anything else. Um, and it was through the spiritual path led me back to the artwork. And at first, I kind of was reluctant, thinking that was just because it was imposed on me in the past as far as being an artist. But because I had all these different experiences, I figured I basically experimented with it and tested it almost spitefully. And some of the experiences that I had with it just kept encouraging to go forward. So it's kind of taught me not to set any limitations. And like as for reading, doing readings, whether remotely or through, groups like this or things like that, I think that's it's more of the same. It's just what's possible is expanding with people, and it's kind of being forced in some ways because of the virus thing going on. But I think it's just an opportunity for people to say, hey, someone who's not sitting right next to me can still pick up on information from me.
Yeah, Mike, Dr. Mystical, saying that he agrees and thinks that video readings and chats might be becoming more popular and kind of where everybody's going to end up. And if you think about it too, like having it on video, you're not sitting there trying to hold a phone or, freeze your hands up to be able to do the artwork in the case of JD, or the shuffling for the hands-on readers with like hands-on tools.
And this is really stepping up to where technology has been, and it just may not have been utilized as much. But like in my head, the way I think of that is that it's going to encourage us to do more stuff like this and commute more with people that are over vaster distances and things like that. So, I mean, I think there are positives to be taken away from it as well.
Don't forget, we have the ability to use email readings, and I've done that too with people where they're not
Dominoes. I just
available.
have to
Video
with
chats
me
weren't
using the
always.
Dominoes. Yes.
Hi, Greg.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Yeah,
has gone
yeah,
on.
we really couldn't, I could barely hear Joan, and so I don't think you might not have been able to hear that.
Joan, can you repeat yourself? This way.
That, but yeah.
Can you hear me now? Okay. So what I wanted to say is that we have the ability to use email as well to send your messages. And that really challenges a reader so that you're not sitting in front of that person via video chat to show, number one, you're not seeing reactions. You're actually truly reading and documenting the cards. And so by doing that, I think it really shows and showcases the talent of that reader. What do you truly see in the cards? What's important to that person that you're doing for the reading or doing the reading for? And then they can focus on those things. I tend to read without having someone ask me questions first because I want to see what's happening in their life. And then from there, focus on the questions.
Yeah, I agree with that. I almost never like to ask somebody questions or have their input before starting to read. I just don't like to either.
Sandra in chat wanted to know, and I know we all have you ever came across someone who made your session nearly difficult or impossible? We all know the client who wants to test the reader. Who wants to go first? And I'm sure, Mike, you in Florida, you had the same thing.
Broke up near the end.
We all have those who want to do that in terms of testing you and daring you and things like that. I usually just keep going. If they have their wall up after a few minutes, I usually tell them they have a wall up. I just try and go right through it. And a lot of times they do it just hoping that something comes up, and usually it has. Now, about once a year, I do receive somebody who
I think I heard the
I just have
question
to say,
was about
unfortunately,
people
I
with
can't read you. But it turns out that they were a very strong skeptic in the first place.
Melissa, could you rephrase?
One thing
Could
I
you
do
say
want to
that
add from
again? I
before
missed it.
is that with me using a very hands-on item such as the dominoes and the seashells, when I have someone on video and I'm looking at them, it really doesn't impair me very much. I'm looking at them and I am able to use their energy to pull the various shells and dominoes to help them with a reading.
Do you want to unmute?
Do I have it on? Can you guys hear me?
Not you, Megan. The boss is on
Oh, the
mute.
boss.
She's over here talking and I can't hear her.
Joan,
Oh.
she wants to know, can you hear Joan?
I wasn't sure. I think the question was about difficult people or difficult reads. Hello?
Megan, yes, have you had a difficult client for a reading?
Oh, yeah. I've had one or two. There's one that comes to mind that I read that was she was very, very difficult. He had everything, and I did the reading for her and I said, are you sure that this wasn't the case? Are you sure? And she sat there and she said, well, my son wants me to move down to, wherever and da-da-da. And I said, well, that's exactly what I just read. There are some people who don't make the connection with what you're reading right immediately. They like, or they do and they deny it because they just don't believe. There are some people that are impossible to read. They put up this wall that's like I don't know. It's like this wall of it's just impenetrable. Some people have that. Ran into one person like that.
Maria, how about you with the healing work?
I've never really had a problem with that.
Bye, Maria.
We got to
Come
get
back,
Maria
come
back.
back.
Hang on. JD, you with the drawings. Have you had the difficult, like, I don't like the drawing and what it has to tell me, when you know it applies?
I'm not sure that I would say where I know it applies. What I've learned over the years and kind of what's been taught to me, and I've learned to stick with your experience and literally going through the trials and errors of it, is to trust the process. In any energy work, I've always understood it as you create your process, you make the rules and follow it. You set those parameters. If you make your own rules and don't follow them, obviously you're going to have mixed results. If you try and follow someone else's rules and it doesn't quite zen with you, then you can also have challenges. There's some people that I have had doing drawings live with, that the walls up or whatever. I've been fortunate on several occasions to actually get more input from that. Like, for example, at one event, the images in the drawing were very strong. Sometimes they're muddy because someone's not clear and there's lack of clarity, and that's literally part of the message. But this one was very crisp, and it was very specific, and the meaning was it was nothing iffy about it. It wasn't something that was like hard to explain or anything like that, and it wasn't landing with the client. And because of my way of doing things, I tend to just let it have a let it go process. So there's been times where I literally just had them, okay, I didn't take any money, I didn't give them their drawing, we just, went on. Since then, and like the one particular situation I'm thinking of off the top of my head right now, it was the person walking away saying, I wonder why no one can read me. So apparently it wasn't me. It wasn't my process. It was something with them, and then most likely it was a block. Especially if they keep getting the same message and she's never seeing that it lands. I mean, one of the things that we also deal with as readers is that you have someone's psyche and personality and personal experiences that sometimes also have to be overcome in order for them to get the message. There's only so much we can do to do that. That's part of their growth process. So you present the opportunity, but it doesn't always come through. Some people are able to push through that. Sometimes it's a little more of an issue. Doing the drawings, and originally most of my work was doing chalk pastels, so it was much more than a couple-minute drawing. It was full color pastel piece, but I still, when I started, what I would do is just take a deposit initially, and then only if they were happy with it, take the balance of the money, which a lot of other readers thought I was crazy. But also, as from an artistic perspective, I don't want someone to have a picture that I did for them that they really don't like, and every time they look at it, they think of it something they wasted their money on. So, there's kind of a different angle of that for me. But I've, other times where I've actually gotten, because I knew that person or knew someone who knew that person, and then found out some of the backstory of why they wouldn't get it. So I kind of take it with a grain of salt and just kind of roll with the punches. A lot of times what'll happen now is, because I'll feel the resistance when I'm doing the drawing, and I used to really think that was me a lot of the time, and doubts step in and things like that. And then I've learned to just, when that happens, I just tell them, I'm like, just relax, like just chill, because something is there's like static right now. I don't tell them that, I just tell them to relax. I'll even actually start, before I start drawing, I'll be like, so just sit there and relax and let me draw. So that's kind of how I've dealt with. But yeah, I mean, there have been plenty of times, and there's also other times. I had one woman who was very versed, and I mean, just a laundry list of credentials by any normal standard, as far as degrees and certifications and all these different things, and very well knowledgeable in spirituality and things like that. And I did a drawing for her, and the drawing didn't make sense. And fortunately, because she was self-aware enough, she's like, I'm gonna take it and work with it. And which is kind of the purpose of it in my eyes anyway. I like my drawings to be more than just a one-time reading. And it was interesting because I got a message from her about a few days later, and in this particular message, it was kind of foretelling something, which was not something I usually dabble in much. It's more about problem solving and working with energetic dynamics, what's going on with the person. And this one was kind of foretelling a situation. And like 2 days later, she sent me a message about she never could have imagined that, because of all her training, she knew better, yada, yada, yada. And that exact scenario played out, and she had to play a role that she was not used to or comfortable with. And that's what the message was in the drawing. So, again, it's just following the process, stepping through, which most, all of you guys, I think, basically said you do anyway. So it's really kind of more the same.
Yeah. It's a neat experience.
Maria, you're back. So let's get your take on difficult healing sessions.
I do agree with JD. You have to really trust the process and what you're doing, especially with energy work. You cannot go into it and not trust the process. So in honor of what I sat in those workshops and learn what I can from my teacher, I trust the process and have faith that divine is going to take where the energy needs to go. Usually when they come into the room, or when, and this is just in person, I also do distant, but when they come into the room, I have to get them into immediately a relaxed state. So I infuse energy right away in the back, and I get them in a relaxed state. Now, it may take 1, 2, 3 tries, and I may have to keep doing it throughout the whole entire session. But once the session is halfway through, I know the energy is going in there. It's taking out, it's removing whatever I need to remove. So that is what I usually do when I'm in an in-person session. And I see a transformation. I notice that the energy dynamics has changed. They're a lot more relaxed, a lot more not as scattered, not as worried, not as jumpy as when they first came in. Distant is a little bit different. I do require the person to be asleep. They're not analyzing what I'm doing. They're not sitting up and say, oh, I wonder what she's doing now. I wonder where she's going now. So I purposely ask them, what time is your bedtime? And I want them asleep. Sometimes they may go a little bit, oh, I don't go to bed until midnight. Well, that's fine. That's fine. You can read a book. You can, as long as you are not watching any electronical to interfere what I need to do, that's fine. You can just read a book or you can just stare at the wall. I do not care, just so that you are relaxed. So the process has to be trust. You have to trust the process. As a healer, you have to trust the process.
Trust it despite what the client might be saying.
Yes.
I know for a fact, like you did some healing work for my son, and even though I could see changes, I'd be like, do you feel any different? And he's like, no. Teenage eye roll, no. I can see it. But I think that's like just teenage angst. Like they insist they're not getting any help.
Yeah.
For anybody last minute coming on, we have a room full of readers. If you have any questions that you've ever wanted to ask us, that's not for free readings. It's more of pick our brains about different types of readings, how we got started, what type of reading might play into another, or what the differences is, and you want to hear our take on it. If you've ever come in during the psychic fair and I have a line full of people, and if you come up to me and say, well, what's the difference? And my quick answer is always mediumship is dead people, psychic stuff is what hasn't happened yet. So which do you want? But if you'd like any of our readers here to go into more detail and how they perceive it, let us know, type a question in, or any other question you might have. Because we have, about 20 minutes left, and then, because I think we're all starving too.
And 16% battery.
Food and wine. Food and wine. That's what we're waiting. Hey. Aw, see, playing around, Jamie.
Can't take you camera.
Look at JD.
Yeah, look up him. You see, like Maria, you could pat mom's head because she's right below you.
Yeah, but it's the whole trying to figure out how you know.
Right. It's like the Brady Bunch thing here going on.
Well, I know today several of my readings, people were coming into their like awakening, and they were starting to question, well, like how come I this, or is it usual for anybody to be doing this? And so I would go and say, well, you're showing signs of being empathic, or and they go, well, but I don't. Well, I can agree to where maybe I'm empathic, but I don't see dead people. And I go, well, I think there's a misconception.
Yeah.
Me too.
Well, in the meantime,
I think I'm back.
you're back up.
So we're thinking that if you were an empath, or that was your strongest ability, that you then also meant that you were also a medium, and that you were also this. And I just told them that I found in my experience that not everyone does everything. There are some that can do more than one gift and have practiced more than one gift, but there's some people that are their strongest point, or their only gift that they have and use, is like empath or medium, and I went on to explain that I don't profess to be a medium, but there are times that when I am doing a reading and I'm connected, that'll come through, so I share it. But that is not my strong point, and I won't go and say, well, if you want a medium, come to me.
Yeah.
Mom, you're gone again. But it's okay. So we have two questions in the chat. Jan wants to know, how do you know to make the jump from amateur to professional? And then Joe is asking, Do any of you guys pick up on extraterrestrials? And go.
Making the jump to professional. I mean, are we ever professional? I'm looking at a room full of people that were never professional. but listen, we're always learning.
Going on.
Hey, you know what? Don't make me come in there. Although you're lucky, my battery's starting to run out. But jumping in, I will say from experience, my first reading, really truly reading, I used to read for myself, and never trusted what I heard. But talking with Melissa and her, that's the hardest read of all, is when she says, pull some cards and you're going to read me. Oh my gosh. All right. Pressure's on. So doing that reading, and if I can get past her, then it's a matter of reading for other people. And when we're sitting in front of other people every day, there's some nerves, am I hitting it right? And it's always trusting your intuition and trusting your gut and trusting what the cards are saying. Just go with it. Lucinda said the same thing already. When you're getting that feeling, when you're hearing those things, you just kind of have to say it. You have to feel it. And I think it was also said too, JD, you just keep pushing through. You don't know when, you just start doing it and you don't realize that you're doing it. And I think we can't put a label on what we do because we have a mishmash of abilities, all of us. We all like pizza, but doesn't mean that pepperoni is the only pizza out there, right?
Right.
Okay, so there you go. By the way, we're ordering pizza, maybe? I don't know. Just saying.
One thing too, if we all stop, for me, if you stop getting nervous, that means you're a little bit too confident, and we're always learning every day.
Yeah, and if you want to put the comical and less easy, okay, when would you be considered professional? Well, as soon as you've got the confidence in yourself and everything, go and order some business cards. Then you're sort of like committed to being a little bit more practiced, a little bit more professional. And then, you're putting out to universe and to any of the people you would be doing your healing or readings and stuff with, that, hey, not only am I confident in this, but I'm really confident in here. Let people know that this is what I do. This is my skill. And so it's like you've letting, your confirmation that that's what you do.
Learn every day.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
The key is respect it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that when you reach the certain
Just
point,
respect
that the work that you do is helping people.
Yeah.
Well, and most of us, I think we could say to some extent, it was more or less a trial by fire. And what that means varies amongst us. I kind of really chose to dip my toes in the water. The very first time I ever did drawings for someone outside of a class for doing spirit drawing, a friend of mine did an event at a coffee shop, and I just I took a piece of paper, wrote free spirit drawings, and just took my charcoal and paper and drew for anyone who wanted to walk up. And it was because it was in a way that I could really kind of test the waters and not feel any like major responsibility behind it. And then the next step where I was actually getting paid for it was, for me, it was a trial by fire. I was at an event that another well-known spirit artist was at, and it's an interesting story. Long story short, I had someone come up to me for a drawing, and I was just tickled that someone wanted me as opposed to the other person who had been doing it for many years. And so I did the drawing, and then I had drawn her ex-husband who had passed away. And I generally don't work as a medium. It's not something I ever gravitated towards. So that was a really profound thing. But the funny thing is, for me, because of my process, I don't know that when I'm doing it. I don't know that's who that was. The face shows up in the drawing. And but the person very strongly acknowledged it. But it's like, before that, I didn't have half the confidence. That doubled it in that one instant, just because it's like, wow, that actually happened.
All right.
No, extraterrestrials.
Because some people are asking, in order for any reader to read in any of the events that has the Goddess Elite name on, they have to interview read. And I have turned people away. So when people come up and they go, well, who's good? Well, they all are, or they wouldn't be reading, at any of the events. Even Dr. Mystical down in Florida, when he could come up to our winery, I made him do a reading. So hopefully that, rest assured. So there was the other question about, from Joe, do any of you ever pick up on aliens, even if we are one?
Agreed. I'm a hybrid.
Right?
You are.
Yeah, I'm one of the people.
Own it.
If not something even weirder. I'm leopard print, damn it. All right.
Okay.
So who wants to talk about picking up on extraterrestrials?
Well, where do I start that story? Yes, the short answer. I like to look at like different energies, and different people connect with them to different degrees. Some, all of us probably across the board to some extent, but some people gravitate more, vibrate easier or louder with certain energies. The whole extraterrestrial thing has always kind of felt strong with me. I've gotten weird, unprompted validations from other people about that. I've never had any physical actual experiences like, anything like interactions, but as far as doing readings, and once in a while I can, and it's for me, it's often the symbolism in the drawing that comes up and kind of the vibe I'm getting that I can tell. And it surprises me sometimes because it's not something I might pick up from this person before I actually do the drawing. But when I do the drawing, I kind of get a sense of their vibe and what they connect with. So yes, but I'm not sure how much more I could define it than that. I'm not an avid studier of different theories and different things like that. So to me, it's all like color and vibration and focus, I guess. I'm not big with the definitions on things of those nature, but I would definitely say it was in the extraterrestrial category.
Anybody else?
As for me, when I do healings, I come across attachments, and to me, they would look like a being that is not in human form. So they would show me like little teeth and all that. Like it's really alien. I call them little gremlins because that's what I see them as, and their attachment, their entities, their attachment that someone has picked up. So
Somebody dropped.
We keep losing poor Maria over there.
She's got too much energy.
We'll bring her back in as soon as her phone reconnects. Megan, how do you pick up on the aliens while Maria gets connected again?
Once. I had one connection. Well, two, I guess I could say. One was I was doing some work in a really high energy state, and I remember reaching out and touched something that was completely, utterly alien to what I've ever worked with. It had such a high vibrational state. I'd consider it, even though, it might have very well been, it did feel alien. I gotta say, it was wonderful. And then there was a second time during the dream state that because I tend to travel sometimes in dreams, and I remember there was one dream where I touched alien. So yeah, I don't talk about that one too much, but happened twice for me. But they've always been affirmations of the work that I do and the life that I live more than anything else. That helps.
Mm-hmm.
She done? Okay, Maria. Now, while you're back, quick, go.
Okay, there I am. Yeah, so when I come across these attachments, they're not beings of this world, they're beings from another dimension, so I would consider them aliens. And sometimes I have to do a little bit of command to get them to just stop so I can do what I need to do to remove it off of the individual. And there's times when I have played chase and they will be chasing around.
So Maria, like you have to chase them and nail them down to do the removal. And let's be honest here. Technically, all angels are aliens. So anybody that's an angel seer, technically you're seeing aliens anyway.
Exactly.
Just not what we're used to, what we think aliens look like.
Yeah.
Right.
Do we have
I
everybody
agree
back?
with that 150%.
This connection.
This
is so much on this connection.
The only one I don't see now is Joan.
There's Lucinda, there's Maria.
All right, so we got about 5 minutes left of this one tonight, and I think next time what we'll do, maybe we'll schedule this a little later if we want to do this again after a failover, and everybody's at home. I think everybody being on our own internet at home will quit dropping everybody.
Good idea.
Because even with the 5G, we're still losing everybody down.
It'll help with the echo too.
But if you who are watching at home, if you enjoy this, you want us to do this again, drop us some comments. We'll know to do this again. And the readers may change because the fairs kind of change on a basis. And we may even loop Dr. Mystical down in Florida in, since he's been one of our readers. And very sad that we can't get him up here for the winery since COVID is making it to where we have to cancel the winery in September. No. Yeah, Lisa says the aliens got Joan. They also keep napping. And Lucinda, like Lucinda proves today.
Abduction.
They must not want me, JD, and Megan because we're here constantly. So yeah, Dr. Mystical would join us. Yeah, so Lisa, Mike, Kathy, and Sandra have votes for doing this again. So we will do that again, but I think we're going to wrap up because my laptop is now yelling at me. I'm down 70% battery. So thanks everybody for popping on. Check us in a month. So
I'm trying to cool my ears.
Person harassment, JD and Joan. So
it was only a couple feet away from me
It'll
until
be
now.
a little later in the evening. Give us all time to drive home, and we will do this again. So with that, guys,
tell me to go backwards now.
And it should help with the lag too. The lag has been pretty bad.
Shenanigans.
All right, so one last goodbye, everybody wave. Woo. And we'll see you guys next month.
I think 12 is the my phone too.